All right, I want you to visualize with me for a second a scenario where we wake up and we get the news that every single centralized exchange in the crypto space was going out of business. So, Coinbase, Gemini, Binance, Kraken, every single one of them announces bankruptcy. What would happen? Well, first of all, I think that everybody would rush to the floodgates. That goes without saying. That any solvent exchange that was left, even the super sketchy ones, would see an influx of deposits, but it wouldn't be sustained business. It would just be people trying to cash out and get out of the crypto ecosystem and into their bank accounts. They just want to get out. So again, this is all one-way transactions and not sustained business. So eventually, every single exchange would go under. Now, in this scenario, the biggest issue is that we no longer have an on-off ramp in the crypto space. That's what most of these centralized exchanges are used for, right? They're a way to get the money out of your bank account and into crypto, and out of crypto into your bank account. So that's sort of the biggest problem that opens up here. Now, what's a scenario that could cause a situation like this? Well, these centralized exchanges, or CEX, they rely on capital that they earn during the bull market to get them through the bear markets. So a prolonged bear market causes them to eat away at their capital that they had saved up. So they would be looking for every way to cut expenses, sort of like they are now, and they would need a way for income to be generated in order to sustain through a prolonged bear market. Now let's pretend that we get like a decade-long bear market. At this point, a lot of the exchanges have probably eaten up some of the capital that they had saved. Most of them are on the brink. If we got news that one exchange or one big player in the space went bankrupt that had exposure, or that other counterparties had exposure to, or other exchanges had exposure to, that would sort of be the straw that broke the camel's back, and the rest would go under because, again, they don't have enough capital to sustain a bankruptcy of any of them. So, okay, let's pretend that whole scenario plays out. Okay, we now know we don't have an on-off ramp, not a reliable one, that everybody rushes out. Crypto prices fall across the board. You probably have some stable coins that go under because they can't sustain the business model and keep peg. So would crypto just die at that point? I think the answer to that question is an astounding no, and here's why. So for starters, you have more crypto enthusiasts now than you have ever had ever. You have some people that actually use crypto full time. They don't even go back to their bank accounts. So these people would sort of be unaffected other than the price of crypto. They would still have money in the ecosystem. And I think that this number would be a lot bigger than most people would expect. I think, again, that you would have a lot of people that would speculate and say, you know what, whatever, the bad news already broke. I'm already here. I'm just going to keep my money on chain. And then I think you also have another group of people that are like, look, this is what I use day to day now in my country. So I'm going to keep my money here anyway because it's what I need to do. So again, you would still have a lot of money on chain. But then begs the question, what do you do? How do you get out if you need to get it to your bank account? Or how do you buy crypto then at that point if you can't buy through a centralized exchange? How do you handle that? Well, if we go back to the beginning of crypto, there was a day and age where there was no centralized exchanges. And the way people would do this is they would just go directly to the miners. So if you wanted to buy Bitcoin, you would just go to a Bitcoin miner, give them cash, and they would send you the Bitcoin to your Bitcoin wallet. Same thing with Ethereum or any other token that is mined. So, okay, at that point, you could get your money in. It's a little sketchier, right? Obviously, we don't have a defined process, but I think you would see a huge sort of black market open in this sense. You would have a lot of people in the beginning that would be trying to get out. So they'd be trying to cash out through these black markets. You'd probably have the black markets would be charging people or giving people pennies on the dollar for the crypto they were cashing out. No way would be one for one. But after the dust settles, you would probably have quite a bit of speculators who would be trying to get back into the space to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever it is. So again, they would go directly to the miners or directly to the people who are holding Ethereum. It could be anybody, right? If you have a neighbor that is holding a bunch of Ethereum and wants to get out, you could approach your neighbor and say, hey, I'll buy all that crypto off for you for this much money. You give them the cash, they send you the crypto. So there's still methods, right? There's still methods for this to work. It's just not as smooth as what a centralized exchange offers, and it's not as readily available, but it still exists. So, okay, at this point, we sort of have the on-off ramp figured out. But what do you do now? Like, once you're in the crypto space, like, what do you do with your tokens? Well, I think honestly, the answer to that is a lot easier than most people realize. We have more tools now than we have ever had in the crypto space. And what I mean by that is you can handle and do most things that you want to do with your crypto all on chain. So for example, let's say I have some Ethereum and I want to swap it for a different token. All I have to do is go to a DEX like Uniswap or SushiSwap. I can go to those DEX and make a transaction right on chain. I can still buy my NFTs right on chain. A lot of people forget that places like OpenSea, they're just marketplaces. You can still do these transactions without an OpenSea or whatever it is that you're trying to buy. Again, decentralized exchanges for tokens. We have bridges across the entire ecosystem. So there's pretty much a way to get from every chain to another chain via a bridge. So we have a lot of the infrastructure needed right on chain. So that's the good news is like once you get into the space, you can pretty much do anything you want to do. Again, the problem then becomes the on-off ramp. Now, in the near term, again, I think that there would be a massive black market that would open in this sense. But over time, you almost certainly would have someone who is willing to step up and take opportunity or take advantage of the opportunity to open up a new centralized exchange. So I don't think that this would be a very long period where there would be no centralized exchanges because, again, once they all go under, you open up a massive opportunity for someone to step into the space and be the sole player. It's almost like a monopoly on the crypto space. They would be that on-off ramp. So again, that would come up. It would be really, I think, a short gap in between that time. Maybe, a few months, maybe even a year. But we'd be able to survive that year. Again, you would have methods to get in and out. It's been done before. It happened in the past. And now more than ever, it would be easier to do whatever it is you were trying to do in the crypto space just because of the infrastructure tools that we have. So, again, prices fall, and now we're sitting here, we're wondering how to get our money in and out. We've kind of got that figured out, and a centralized exchange pops back into the space. What are we looking at? What's the scenario for crypto? Well, I think that once any news of a new centralized exchange popped in, you would have a huge influx the other direction. You would probably see tons and tons of people going, oh my gosh, a new centralized exchange is opening up in crypto. Crypto is going to be revived. This thing's going to happen again. We're going to see it again. And you would see a bunch of money flow into that centralized exchange and back into the crypto ecosystem, which would probably trigger a bull run. Now, I'm not talking a bull run that would break all-time highs. I don't know, but it would certainly push crypto prices a lot higher than what they were prior to that announcement, right? So, like, everybody's cashing out. Crypto prices are falling. Some stable coins fall apart. It's chaos in the markets. Prices are down 99%. Let's pretend that Bitcoin and Ethereum, like Bitcoin's at like $100 and Ethereum's at like 50. This would be a dream scenario for a lot of people because, again, once the news that the centralized exchange, whoever it is, steps back in, you would see a huge rush of people trying to take advantage of those prices because they would see it as that crypto's not dead, and now we have our on-off ramp back. So I think that is how this whole thing would cycle should we get the news that every single exchange went out of business. Now, I wanted to cover this because I think this is something that's maybe more relevant than it ever has been, given all the FTX news and all the drama that we've seen in the crypto space. It's probably a question that a lot of you guys have had is like, what would happen? Now, this is, of course, my 2 cents in a totally situational thing. This is a fantasy that I've kind of driven up, but it's sort of my 2 cents on what would happen should we get some crazy news like that. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm curious to hear what you guys think of what would happen should we get an announcement that every single centralized exchange is going out of business. If you have some input on that, drop it down in the comment section. I'd love to hear. Maybe there's some things I'm not thinking about. But I think that that would be a pretty close depiction as to what that scenario would look like. Now, good news is, again, I don't think we're anywhere near a situation like that. I think we've got enough safe players that that wouldn't happen. I'm going to knock on wood, right? But yeah, it would be a pretty crazy situation, but I don't think that crypto would die. So if this is your first time to the channel, guys, please like and subscribe. And with that being said, I will see you all next time.